Continue to look at what this means for Facebook and advertisers with Michael Wolff, the CEO and founder of Activate. Prior to that, he was president and COO of MTV Networks and a Yahoo board member. He joins me now live from New York. So, Michael, I'm curious, just speaking with Debbie earlier about the power that Facebook still has and the fact that, crises like these Facebook has weathered before. How big a deal is what Facebook is going through right now? How much of an impact will this actually have on Facebook from a reputational and a business perspective?
Stepping back and looking at the big picture, Facebook is an integral part of marketers' campaigns today. And there are advertisers that are looking for Facebook to help drive their sales. And if you think about it, you segment advertisers. There are advertisers that look at branding, and there are advertisers that use Google and Facebook for what you would call performance, to drive specific sales. And apart from Google and Facebook, those are two of the most important ways in which advertisers are not only driving sales online, but driving visits into an automobile dealership and coupons. And so I think it's going to be an important part of what advertisers do, and it's going to continue to be. The bigger issues go ahead.
Right. I want to ask you from a reputational perspective, and just in terms of trust of users. They might say, well, users opt into this, but even when users opt in or check a box, they don't understand how their data is being used, and Facebook hasn't done a good job of being clear about how their data is being used. Will this fundamentally undermine trust in Facebook and thus impact engagement?
Yes, it will undermine trust. But at Facebook, there's a lot that Facebook can do to reestablish that trust. First of all, it's less about privacy and it's more about control. Facebook needs to be explicit in allowing people to have control. Second of all, Facebook needs to be clear to its users what information they have on them and how that information is being used. So in the last couple of days, there's been news that Facebook was using data from conversations on WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, as well as calls, for advertising targeting. Facebook needs to make it clear to users how they're using their data. And if users feel that they can have control, they're not going to delete Facebook.
Right, and with respect to the story you just mentioned about scraping call data, Facebook responded by saying, well, this is something that users opt into, but many users, as I said, still don't understand exactly what they're opting into. What do you make of the apology tour? Given that it's hard to believe that Facebook executives didn't understand what was happening here.
The apology tour is much more taking ads in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and in the UK papers. That's more focused on advertisers. Facebook has this amazing platform. They're not running that same campaign for their own users. So what Facebook really needs to do is it needs to make it clear and provide controls so that users know and really understand how they can limit the amount of data that they give Facebook and that they give to Facebook advertisers. Today, if you're a Facebook user, it's very hard to figure out. It's very hard to figure out what you're sharing and what you're not sharing. And Facebook really needs to make that a lot easier.
What other platforms do you think could benefit from this? Will Snapchat see a bump? Will Twitter see a bump? Will Instagram, even though it's part of Facebook, many people don't understand that it is part of Facebook. Will Instagram see a bump?
Well, first of all, Instagram is having a lot of growth. So is Snap. But Facebook's real competitor in this is Google. And Google, while Google has a lot of information on people, a lot of that is not specific to individuals. And so this is a moment where Google, of course, is going to exploit their privacy, their own ability to give consumers less, to give away less of consumers' information, to be able to focus on advertisers and say to consumers they have a better proposition. Another company that's likely to benefit in the long run here is Apple. Apple has focused on privacy. They don't collect user information. And as they want to build their own advertising business, that's going to be an important proposition, not just for advertisers, but of their customers.
Indeed they have. All right. Michael Wolff, CEO of Activate. Always great to have you here on the show, Michael. Thank you so much
Great to be here,
for
Emily.
stopping by.